And for that sample study idea I created, I just went ahead and wrote a brief little paragraph with just a handful of citations that I found really quickly by doing a Google Scholar search for that mask question. So I wrote, due to the effectiveness of masks in slowing the spread of COVID-19 and other aerosolized or droplet spread infectious diseases, it is of great interest for public health to examine predictors of mask wearing behavior in the United States. And then I pulled in a related citation that I found off of Google Scholar. According to Heischer et al., in the summer of 2020, fewer than half 41% of shoppers entering retail stores in southern Wisconsin wore masks. Those who were less likely to wear masks included younger people, men, and people in urban and suburban areas compared to rural areas. That same study found that during times when the local area had mask mandates, mask wearing increased to 90%. Thus, and this is where I pull my reasoning together to help explain why my study about mask wearing in East Texas might need to happen. Thus, there are significant demographic predictors to mask wearing. However, another study, Howard 2021, using 3 datasets, found, contrary to popular beliefs about low mask wearing in men and toxic masculinity, Gupta 2020, that there were no gender differences in mask wearing behavior. So we have found a contradictory result here, and that happens in your literature searches, and that's okay. I have to figure out what to make of that and what to try and hypothesize in my study now that there's conflicting results. So I go further with my reasoning to do that. Howard 2021 did find, however, that a few mask wearing attitudes differed between men and women. So we still have some gender differences that I might be interested in here for my study. Men were more likely to report that masks infringed upon their independence, and women were more likely to view them as uncomfortable. Because the novel coronavirus pandemic and widespread mask wearing is rather new to the West, we also draw upon literature regarding older analogous public health behaviors to mask refusal, vaccine hesitancy, or anti-vax. Now, the reason I pulled that in, which is something that might happen to y'all, is because there are only so many research studies about mask wearing and gender so far. People have done a lot of research about COVID-19 nowadays, but there's still a lot of other public health research that happened before 2020 that has had a lot more time to be replicated and might give us more of an idea of whether we should expect gender differences, and if so, why. So I took a look at this. For example, Tomini et al. 2017 found that demographics explained a lot of anti-vaccine tweets about autism. Women who recently gave birth, people in high-income households, and men with low educational attainment were the most likely groups to tweet about anti-vaccine sentiment between 2009 and 2015. So again, I have a little bit of inconsistency here. So here's where I try to bring the sources together in some kind of logic to help me explain what I want to predict. Due to these inconsistent findings in the literature, we want to investigate demographic characteristics of mask wearing behavior, specifically gender differences, in East Texas during the spring of 2021, especially in light of the Biden administration's recent executive order mandating masks from the national level. Executive Order 13,991 in 2021. Because of their belief that masks infringe upon independence, we suspect that men may be less likely to wear masks than women, especially considering most men in East Texas are conservative and thus might feel motivated to rebel against the Biden administration's executive order. Although women report physical discomfort from masks, we do not expect this feeling to be intensified by the federal mandate. So men maybe have a little more of a political reason to avoid masks, is what I'm arguing here. Additionally, because uneducated men are more likely to be anti-vaccine, as we found in that Tomini et al. 2017 study, which that's another public health opinion, we might expect that men in East Texas, an area with also low educational attainment in general, would be hesitant to wear masks as well. Thus, we predict that men will be less likely to wear masks than women. And I not only put my citations in here, but I also have the full reference for each of those citations. Now, this is not formatted completely in APA style. The citations and references are, but I don't have like the title page and reference page the way they're supposed to look. This was just something I did quick and dirty in like 10 minutes. But this process, I wanted to show you the process of reasoning because researchers have to explain this reasoning to the IRB when they apply to ask to be able to do some research, so the IRB can determine if it's ethical, if it's research that actually needs to happen, or if it needs to be modified in some way to be more ethical. So they just want to make sure that you're not doing it willy-nilly, that you have good reasons for it. And I want to make sure y'all are doing the same thing. You've already given me at least one reference for each of your projects, which is great. But further down the road, what we're also going to do is in your final presentation of the observational project, you only have to cite two sources, but you are going to cite them like this with author, last name, and year in your PowerPoint, and I will also have a video much later explaining what that's going to look like, but you will cite those and explain your reasoning of how they helped you to develop your hypothesis. I have more sources and much more content here than you would need on a slide, but this is the logic I want you to follow. And then for your survey research project, you're eventually going to be pulling together at least 10 sources where you build up this reasoning and kind of build a case for why your survey study needs to be done. Your observational project needs a references slide at the end, and your survey research project paper is going to have a reference page with the references looking like this as well. So I just wanted to give you that sneak peek of what some of this stuff is going to look like so that you can start connecting the pieces of the research projects we're doing now into what the final products are going to look like and understand the reasoning of what we're doing.